Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. In today's video, I've got an epic smackdown between two of the hottest, most viral foundations of the summer. In today's video, we're going to be testing the TirTir Mask Fit Red Cushion Foundation versus the e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation on more mature skin. I've seen reviews on both of these that say that they are both fantastic, that they're both beautiful on the skin. They are very different foundations just from their descriptions. The formulations aren't that different though, but one is a full coverage long-lasting foundation, the other is a buildable medium coverage foundation. They both have moisturizing and hydrating ingredients, and they were both super hot this summer, so I wanted to put them to the test against each other on my more mature, less than perfect skin. So if you're new here, hi, I'm Angie. I'm 62. I have combo skin, but the older I get, the drier it gets. So I have a slightly oily T-zone, not super oily. Some parts of my face are pretty dry, particularly the corners of my mouth and around my hairline, up in my temples can be dry. The rest of my face is normal. What I like in a foundation is something that is natural and skin-like, that makes my skin look better than it is, that doesn't accentuate my flaws, which are wrinkles and enlarged pores from years and years of sun damage. I like a soft, luminous finish, but I usually do powder down my under eyes, the fronts of my cheeks, and basically my T-zone where I have more texture on my face, and the setting powder usually takes care of the texture with any foundation that I'm using. So what you're gonna see in this video is both of these foundations applied to more mature, less than perfect skin on separate days, then doing a 10-hour wear test on each of them. You're gonna get to see close-ups of my skin in studio light, in natural window light, and also in super bright sunshine. And there will be no filters used in my videos ever. There are no filters used in my camera settings. There are no filters used in the editing, and I edit the videos myself, so I can guarantee you that there are no filters used anywhere. If you are seeing an image that you think is slightly blurry or not as crisp and sharp, or you can't see the detail of what I'm talking about, it's probably because your playback settings are not up to the settings that I uploaded it in. So there's usually a little cog symbol either at the top or the bottom of your screen. If you press on that, you'll be able to see the playback settings. Put that playback resolution to the highest possible resolution, and then you should be able to see everything that's going on. I did 2 days of testing with the TirTir just to try it with different sunscreens and different application methods. We're only going to get 1 day of testing on the e.l.f. just because it came in last night, and I just decided on the fly to put it in this video. So today's the day that I'm trying this, and this is the one that I'm wearing in today's video. All right, so let's start in looking at the foundations. So this is the TirTir Mask Fit Red Cushion Foundation. It retails for $25 for 0.63 ounces. And it comes in 40 shades. I'm not sure if they mean that it fits your face like a mask, but in the marketing they do talk about it lasting while you're wearing a face mask for 24 hours. And that also it'll wear for 72 hours without a mask. According to the TirTir marketing, this is a smudge-proof cushion foundation that offers powerful coverage to blur skin imperfections and redness for a silky smooth and radiant finish. It's enriched with roselle, propolis, and white water lily extracts to keep skin moisturized and nourished. It's fitted with SPF 40 PA++. They say it is sweat-proof, transfer-proof, so that is the scoop on the TirTir. The e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation retails for $8 for 1 ounce, and it comes in 30 shades. It's a long-lasting, hydrating liquid foundation that delivers just right, medium buildable coverage and a satin finish. They say the breathable formula doesn't look or feel cakey, that it's infused with 1% hydrating hibiscus complex plus pomegranate, blueberry, and goji berry extracts, that it's non-comedogenic and won't clog pores. I'm going to do the TirTir first because I was so excited about this one. I saw a lot of reviews on it. I was like, ooh, that looks so great. I really want to give that one a try. It does come in this gorgeous red compact inside there is a little puffer applicator. Then you open this little door in here and there's your foundation in a sponge. Press the sponge into the foundation and then use this lid as a palette to blot off some of the foundation and work it into the sponge. So for day one, testing the TirTir foundation, I always put on sunscreen underneath my foundation, even though this does have sunscreen in it. When you're applying your foundation, you're not using enough to get the SPF on the label. It takes about 1/4 teaspoon for your face and your neck to get the SPF coverage on the label of any product, whether it's a makeup or a dedicated sunscreen. Now you're never going to use 1/4 teaspoon of the foundation, so you're never going to get even close to the SPF 40 in it. For this foundation, I decided to use my Haru Haru Wonder Black Rice Airy Fit sunscreen. It's an SPF 50 with a PA++++ rating. It's very lightweight under makeup. It works very well with most foundations that I've tried it with. I ended up purchasing 3 shades of the TirTir. The first one I got was 23N Sand, which is a little bit too light for me. The next shade I purchased was 24N Latte. This one is a little bit darker, but it looks a little bit too warm for me. The next shade I purchased was 24W Soft Beige. That one is looking a little bit too dark for me. So for the first day of testing, I went with 24N and I applied it with the applicator. Then to apply, TirTir recommends tapping it and patting it into the skin, highly fragranced, rather than dragging or swiping. Unfortunately, because of the way the sponge is, it's hard to get it into like little nooks and crannies around your face, and I had a really hard time getting it into like the corner of my nose. I would have to add extra just to work it in there, and when that happened, I felt like I got a little bit too much coverage. It does kind of skip over pores a little bit. I have like small but like deep wrinkles here on my chin and enlarged pores, and it really has a hard time getting in those. I like more of a fluid foundation that will flow kind of into my wrinkles, because if it just skips over them, it makes them look accentuated. Other than that, it is easy to apply to the rest of your face with the patting, bouncing motion with the little sponge. The coverage on this is definitely full coverage. It doesn't feel heavy on the skin. It feels very lightweight. All right, so first impressions on the TirTir. Number one, can't get a really good color match, but I guess it's okay. I can wear it. Number two, it is very full coverage and it does look very makeup-y. So if you love full coverage and you don't mind a makeup-y look, it could be for you. Number three, it does settle in your wrinkles and it does crack a little bit on the surface where your face and your skin has more movement. It's settled in my little smile lines over here. It plays nicely with some cream products, but not all. It was removed by my bronzer. And lastly, it's super fragrance, so if you're not into fragrance in your makeup, then you won't like that about it either. Here's what the TirTir looks like in natural window light. And here's the TirTir in bright outdoor sunshine. At the 5-hour check-in, it wasn't terribly worn off. It was still mainly in place on most of my face, except on the top of my forehead where blending in the bronzer had removed it already. Other than that, it was still in place very well on my nose and on my chin and on the rest of my face. The problem is that it just didn't look great. I've already said that I don't love full coverage foundation, but I had heard that it was very lightweight, natural looking full coverage, so I was really looking forward to seeing that on my skin. I didn't see that. For me, it looks like full coverage foundation. It looks like a mask of makeup, and it's not really doing anything for my skin, It's accentuating texture, it's accentuating wrinkles, it's settling in wrinkles, so while the coverage is still lasting, it doesn't look great, and I wasn't that thrilled with it. By the 10-hour check-in, I was pretty disappointed in this foundation. I felt like it never really fully dried and set. I felt like it was coming off under my nails all day. I felt like if I touched my face, it was definitely coming off on my fingertips. For a foundation that's supposed to last for 72 hours, it's very worn off in lots of places around my face, like on my nose, on my forehead, on my chin. It just looks very mottled, like it's been sliding around. It's gathered in the center of my forehead, so So there's really thick, not the right color for me foundation there, but then there's like no foundation in spots next to it. I can definitely see spots where I touched my face or where it slid around, and it just looks pretty terrible. It definitely was still settled in my wrinkles, looking worse, looking really kind of sweaty by the sides of my nose. So that was the end of day one. I wasn't happy with it. I didn't love it. And I don't know what all the viral fuss is about, but I suppose, you know, people, younger people with more perfect skin who don't have a lot of texture that it's going to accentuate could definitely love this, especially if they do love full coverage foundation. You know, I always want to give these things a fair shot. You know, people will always be like, well, it's the sunscreen you used. It's how you applied it. You didn't use the applicator right. You did this wrong. So I did wear it again a second day. For day two, I switched up the sunscreen. I used my favorite tinted mineral sunscreen, which is the Healthy Skin Labs Protect SPF 50. Beautiful sunscreen, very hydrating, works great with 99% of my foundations. And I decided to apply the TirTir with a brush instead of the sponge. I used the BK 106 brush and I mixed two shades. I used 23 and Sand and 24 and Latte. I would kind of like dip into one and then dip into the other and then mix them together on the little palette and then apply them with a stippling motion. That definitely was a better application for me. Using the brush, I could get it into the deeper cracks and crevices of my face, like by the side of my nose, and into the textured areas on my skin. Using the mix of shades, I felt like it was a much better shade match for me, and I felt like it just looked better in general. So I was off to a better start on day two. Unfortunately, that didn't last long. Within an hour, the settling and the cracking on the surface was back. I gotta say, throughout the day, this did look better and wear slightly better with the Healthy Skin Lab sunscreen under it than it did with the Haru Haru Wonder sunscreen under it. So I did have a slightly better day on day two, but in the end, it didn't do anything to change my opinion of the TirTir. By the end of the day, it was still too worn off, too settled in my wrinkles, and accentuating way too much texture everywhere on my face for me to ever wear it again or even like it. I just couldn't wait to take it off by the end of the day, so I'm just gonna speed through this part of the review. I don't wanna go into every minute of day two, but suffice to say that it didn't change my opinion. It ended up being about the same as day one. It was slightly better because of the sunscreen, but other than that, it was still kind of a disaster for me. So all in all, the TirTir for me, sadly, was just a fail. Which is why when this showed up last night, I was like, let me try to salvage this video and see if maybe one of these is better than the other for more mature skin, or at least for my more mature skin. Shoot, the yard guys are here. All right, I'm gonna have to finish this up later. I'll go take the dogs for a walk and then I'll come back and film the rest. All right, so today is day one of the e.l.f. testing, and as I said, we're only gonna get one day. So in order to maximize, I did use my Holy Grail sunscreen today, which is the Healthy Skin Labs Protect SPF 50 sunscreen. It's a tinted mineral sunscreen, the same one that I used on day two of the TirTir testing. I did purchase two shades of the e.l.f. foundation. I've got it in 25 light neutral and also 31 medium neutral, and here's what they look like on my skin. I decided to go with 25 light neutral as that looked like a pretty good match for me. I'm applying the e.l.f. with my BK 101 brush today, my favorite foundation brush, and it's going on perfectly. It's not skipping over any pores. I do like how it looks on my skin. I do think it looks very natural and skin-like. Definitely feels nice on the skin, feels very much like a tinted moisturizer. It's definitely giving me some coverage. It's evening out my skin tone very nicely, getting rid of some of my redness, but you can still see my skin coming through. I'd say the finish is a little more luminous than a satin finish, although that could be because of the sunscreen that I have on underneath. Wanted to try the Merit bronzer with this one to see if it removes it like it did with the TirTir. I'm going to use my BK 109 to blend it. It didn't remove all of the foundation that was up there, so that's good. And then for the blush today, I just wanted to try something new that was sent in PR. It's the Essence Baby Gut Blush. And then I'm going to blend that in with my A507 brush. It's a really pretty blush. What color is this? The shade is Pinkalicious. So I'm going to go ahead and use my NYX Mineral Matte Powder to set under my eyes and down my T-zone. For that, I'm going to use the BK 108 brush. This looks so pretty on the setting powder side. This side, I'm just gonna let it be its natural finish. I think if you have dry skin, you would like this side, because what I find is that on dry skin people, things that are super luminous on me are less luminous on them. They tend to soak in a little bit more and not look quite so shiny. Of course, they usually don't have enlarged pores that are then enhanced, which I do. So let me just show you both sides up close, and you can see the difference between using the setting powder and no setting powder. It is medium coverage. There are some things on my skin that are still showing through, but it definitely is giving me that more even skin tone that I like out of a foundation. And I think this looks really pretty on the skin. I don't think it looks heavy or makeup-y. So let's take a look at this one in natural window light. And also outside in the super bright sunshine. No powder over here, setting powder over here. Hey guys, I'm back. It's time for a 5-hour check-in on the e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation. Here we are in 5 hours, and I think it is looking pretty darn good. I mean, it definitely is giving me that natural skin-like look that I really like out of a foundation. It is getting a little bit shinier, a little bit dewier again in my T-zone. Granted, it is a super hot day out and it is super humid, and I spent a fair amount of time outside in the last 5 hours, so the humidity is kind of making me steam up a little bit here, but I don't think it's terrible. Like, I don't really feel the need to like blot or repowder at this point, so I will just leave it. I don't usually touch up during these foundation test, so I can show you what it looks like at the end of a 10-hour day if you don't touch it up at all. For an $8 foundation, this is really surprising me at how good it looks at 5 hours. It looks so much more skin-like on me, and I don't feel like I'm wearing a mask of makeup. And looking at it up super close, it's not settled in the smile lines on one side of my face where the TirTir was so settled and so cracked looking. The other side of my face, it is slightly settled into my smile line, but it's not doing any of those things that the TirTir did. All right, hey you guys, I'm back. It's 9:45, time for the 10-hour check-in on the e.l.f. foundation. I'm finding this to be pretty darn long wearing. I think it still looks really good. It hasn't worn off. Foundation usually wears off on my nose, and like a lot of redness is showing through. I'm not seeing that with this one. A lot of times it wears off to the side of my nose. I'm not seeing that. A lot of times it wears off up here. I'm not really seeing that. To me, it looks like it doesn't look just applied, but it still looks really, really good. If I was at work for 10 hours, out of the house for 10 hours, I would not come back to the mirror, look at this and be like, oh no, my makeup looks atrocious. Really, the only major change with it throughout the day has been that it's gotten increasingly luminous through my T-zone. That is pretty standard fare for me, especially on such a hot, humid day. Took the dogs out for quite a few long walks today, so I was out in it. It did settle a little bit in this wrinkle here, but not in this guy. Didn't settle anywhere else on my face. Didn't accentuate pores, didn't accentuate texture. So this one I would say is a real winner. And if you're gonna buy either of the foundations from today's video, I would recommend the e.l.f. Soft Glam. I think this is just beautiful. The TirTir was kind of an epic fail for me. I can't say that I liked anything about this foundation. As far as the actual foundation, the e.l.f. is a medium coverage buildable foundation that looks very natural on the skin, feels very lightweight, feels very hydrating. The TirTir is a full coverage foundation that does feel lightweight on the skin, does feel hydrating on the skin, but doesn't necessarily look hydrating. They both have hydrating botanical ingredients in them, so that's kind of a wash. This one is also fragrance-free. This guy is heavily fragranced and very perfumey. The e.l.f. comes in 30 shades. TirTir comes in 40 shades, but I gotta say I had to buy 3 of the TirTir, so $75 outlay for me to still not have a decent shade match. I did buy 2 with the e.l.f., so $16, and one of them is a really great shade match for me. For application, I found the e.l.f. to be really super easy to apply. I just put it on with my regular brush that I use. I can probably even apply it with my fingers. Didn't test that, but it just seems so easy. The TirTir, had to mess around with it a little bit. I gotta say, I don't love the little pad that comes with it. For me, it skipped over pores. It was hard to get it into like the nooks and crannies by the side of my nose. It worked best with a soft domed brush in my opinion. Performance-wise, I feel like the e.l.f. wins for performance as well. It looked better on my skin. It looked more natural on my skin. It didn't settle into wrinkles as much as the TirTir did. It stayed smooth throughout the day, unlike the TirTir, which ended up cracking and looking weird on the surface. They both lasted 10 hours on the skin. The problem with the TirTir is I just didn't like how it looked at all during the entire 10 hours. So for me, this is an easy smack down. The e.l.f. smacks down the TirTir. The TirTir is a foundation that, well, I'm glad I tried it because it did go so viral this year. Every single time I tried it, I could not wait to take it off. You know, for me, it was an absolute miss. I could see if you're someone who loves full coverage foundation, who doesn't mind fragrance in their foundation, and who has much smoother, less textured skin than mine, then you could really like the TirTir, but for me, as I said, absolute miss. I really, really enjoyed wearing the e.l.f. foundation. I felt like it made my skin look better, younger. It was just superior in every way that there could be to the TirTir. So this I think would be very versatile for lots of skin types. It was just easy. It was just an easy day with this. You know, I wouldn't mind leaving it on for the rest of the day. I'm not like, oh God, I want to take this off right now. I am actually really excited about this one. Can't wait to add it to my favorite foundations here. And I'm really happy that it came in yesterday and I could put these two head to head to give you my thoughts on which of the two viral foundations of this summer get the Angie seal of approval. So that's it for today's video, everybody. I hope you found it helpful and informative. If you did, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for the most thorough foundation reviews with all the views of up close, unfiltered, different lighting conditions and everything that you want to see so that you can see if the foundations that I'm testing are right for you. All the makeup that I'm wearing today and during any of the other days, all those will be linked in the info box below the video, along with both of the foundations. As always, I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.